Okay. So I'm just gonna comment out these two lines. Now we know the for loop is the loop that we use in order to loop over iterables, right? Okay. Now, if I use something like I want something vague, so X, okay? For X in the dictionary that we have. What do you think X would look like? So what would we have in X in every iteration here? Now we know when we loop over the range, what would be the value of n in every iteration? When we looped over this range. So n, the first iteration will be equal to 1, second iteration will be equal to 2, 3, and so on, right? If we have a list and we use a loop like this, then the variable of the loop will take one element of the list at a time. Now we're trying to loop over a dictionary. Okay, now let's see how would X look like if we print it as it is. So what is this? Yes. Not accurate. Okay. Well, it might be confusing because both of them are even numbers. But you see, we skipped the odd numbers from adding to the dictionary, right? Now let's have a closer look. The printing that didn't give us the answer properly. So let's have a closer look by printing, by looking at the debugging mode. So we see this is the first element in the dictionary, and X equal to 2. So 2 here is what? The key. All right. Now let's see again. Now if I step over that, X is equal to 4. This is the second iteration. So that's the second element, right? So what is 4 in the second element? The key. So if we leave it like this, we iterate over the key. If we want to print both the value, and that should be sufficient because the key gives us direct access to the value. All right. So if I want to print the value instead of the key, I would do what? It's just the name of the dictionary and use that value as the index. Right? So this time when we print, so the X is 2, it's gonna print the value associated to 8, which is 4. When X is 4, it will print the value associated to 8, which is 8, and so on. All right. Now, so by default, when we iterate, we use the name of the dictionary to iterate. We iterate over the keys. Okay. But we can also iterate over the entire key value pair, or we can iterate over the what's called the values. Okay. Now see, this is the short of typing something like this. Dot values. Okay. So that's what we call the view. Okay, so here. So the view objects, dictionary view objects. Okay, so by default, the view object that we have access to, even if we don't type it, is the keys view object. Okay, and how do we access it? By calling a function called keys, if you want to literally access it. Okay, so if I use the keys, it should give me the same result here. All right. Now, if it doesn't, if I don't want the keys, I want to iterate over the values, it is very similar. So I don't want to access like this. I want X to be the value right away. There is another function called values that give me the view object that iterates over the values. So in that case, if I want to print the values, I just print it as it is. All right, let's see. So you see, exactly the same. So here I use the keys to access the values. Here I looped over the values right away. Now there is another view object that loops over the pairs one by one, like pair by pair. Okay, so I can use another loop here in num. Now I'm gonna add something here. Okay, in num to double. Oh, I misspelled it, so let me just keep using this name. Dot items. So that will give me pair by pair. So every iteration, I get two values. So in order to receive them, I need two variables to receive them. Now we see here, this iteration iterates over one value at a time. So we receive it in one variable, right? Now, if we are going to iterate over two values at a time, then we need to receive it or receive them in two values, right? Or two variables. So here, I'm gonna have to define two variables as the recipients of the iterable items here. So K and V. So they don't have to be K and V, any names you want. So it could be key and value, X and Y, okay? Any name. This is just a variable name. Now, if I print key, plus value, then in that case, I will be printing both the key and the value in every iteration. Maybe it might be good that we iterate over them. I mean, we trace them. So you see first iteration, the key and the value. Okay, so here's the key and here's the value. Second iteration. Oh, so you see in Python, when you can concatenate a number to a string, you had to literally convert it to a string. There's another way around it. We'll talk about it when we talk about functions. So now the key is 2 and the value is 4. Okay. Now in the next iteration, we said we changed both the key and the value because we are now looking at the second item. All right. In the next iteration, we are about to change both the key and the value to be equal to 6 and 12. Okay, and so on. All right. Okay, now we have seen how to build a dictionary in a loop or in a comprehension. Now there are other ways to build a dictionary. If you already have two existing lists and you want to put them together in a dictionary, you can use a function called zip. Now, zip is not necessarily associated to the dictionary, okay? So you see here, it's just, let me just call it. So let's say that we have some list. So let's say 3, 4, 1. Ten. Okay, and another list that has strings A, B, and C. And it doesn't have to be 2, could be 3 or more, and they don't have to be exactly same size. So let's say X and Y. Okay. Okay, so now if I try to print this like right away, so I'm just gonna say result equal. So what do we expect if we print result? It's not what you expect. We've seen something like this before, right? It's like the range. We did see there's something like when we tried to print the range, it just printed something that describes the object of range. So this is also lazy evaluation. It wouldn't generate the values unless we try to read them. So in order to read them, we have to turn them into something. So let's say I'm going to turn them into lists. And you can see it creates a tuple or a set of tuples associating each element with its corresponding element in the remaining list. So it associated 3 to A to X in one tuple, and then associated 5 to B to Y in another tuple. If we had another element in the third list, it would have created another tuple for that. Okay, so if I added a Z here, so it just creates a group of tuples associating each element with its corresponding element in the remaining lists. Okay, so obviously if we want to create a dictionary, we need 2 value pairs. Okay, so we only need 2 lists. So that will create a set of tuples or a list of tuples of size 2. Okay, if we send this to a dictionary, and then we try to print it, we would take the first value in the tuple as a key and the second value in the tuple as the value. Okay, now you can use different ways. We're going to talk about the key arguments later, but there are different ways to send values to the dictionary constructor in order to build it. This is one of them.